one thing I want to do with my social media is kind of showcase people who have had a positive impact on me and what I'm doing. Saying that with the guy that's sitting beside me is a little bit of a stretch, but Chad's a good buddy of mine, and I've known him for, I want to say, at least probably 30 years. So the reason for this video is to talk about CP awareness. As is the case with most disabilities and conditions, every diagnosis is different, right? Like, I was born 9 weeks premature, and that led to limited oxygen to my brain.
Yeah, my cause, leading to my CP was premature birth as well, and my older brother is significantly more premature than I am. He's 6 years older, and he's nonverbal. Needs to be fed, needs to be changed, and the whole 9 yards. So it's a super wide gamut of what people with CP are limited, I suppose, limited to doing or are capable of doing. But I guess I was one of the lucky ones, I like to think, 'cause it's fairly mild. Only my mobility is affected, so I just use my chair for getting around.
For people that don't know, you're a teacher?
Yeah. So my teaching journey started in 2011. I graduated Teachers College. 2012 I was hired by the school board, and I did some long-terms, some supply teaching, which is kind of part of the game that everybody has to play. I got a permanent 3 years ago in the elementary panel, so I was teaching permanently for the last 3 years in elementary, and I'm just about to start teaching secondary, so I'm really excited about that. They're going to be much taller than I am.
When you were supplying, right?
Yeah.
Did you know the buildings you were going to, and was there ever accessibility issues there?
Awesome question. So I was very much learning as I went in terms of what buildings were not accessible, and there are still lots. Older buildings still are not accessible. Where my kids attend school, I could never teach in because it's multi-tiered, multi-leveled, and there's just no ramps. It's all stairs. So basically, when I was supply teaching, we would build this list. I was working with somebody at the school board, and as I came across an accessibility issue in a school, I would just not receive calls from that school for the future. It didn't hinder me with work because they would just move me to an accessible school, right. And a large part of our schools, way more than are barrier free, and so there wasn't any issue there. But certainly, as you're supply teaching, every day is something different. So you get a call to go to a school that you couldn't get to. I showed up a couple of times to teach, and you get the deer in the headlights look when the teacher wheels in a wheelchair, and oh no, you're supposed to be on the second floor. So those are we kind of those are situations where you dive in and figure out what's going to happen as it happens. In that case, they would move another teacher to the second floor and have me teach on the first floor. In an extreme case, they couldn't accommodate me at that school, so they moved me to another school for that day, right? Where I'm going now, where I have been in the past 5 years, there haven't been any accessibility issues. I've been on one-floor schools or two-floor schools with a full elevator, so no issue.
I can't imagine that there's a lot of teachers in wheelchairs, right?
Yeah.
So, do you get reactions from kids, first of all, and then from parents?
Absolutely.
So, tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So, reactions from kids are my favorite. I love it. Again, I'm coming from 5 years in the elementary panel, teaching anywhere from kindergarten to grade 8. So those kids are innocent. They'll just shoot straight. I always joke that if I was never left plans in the classroom and I didn't sort of know where they were or what I was teaching, I could talk about my chair for 6 hours, and those kids would be happy to just ask questions and have them answered. And I'm an open book. I'll answer any question for anybody. In terms of the parents, you always get I love comments. It warms my heart really when I get comments from parents that their son or daughter is inspired by me because of they've never had a teacher in a wheelchair, and you said it, and I've met one. Yeah. So I don't think that there are that many out there, at least that I've come across in my journey. But the stories from parents are equally as inspiring. It's nothing about them. It's more them relaying information about their kids and the difference that I'm making. And it's funny because one of the first things that they'll say, as any kid would, right, is Mr. Pilon's in a wheelchair, and that's the start of the conversation, right? Because that's who I am, and that's the first thing that the kids see. I had a principal tell me once, a long time ago, that whether I've always tried to be as humble as possible, and but I had a principal tell me once that whether I realize it or not, the kids learn from me the second I wheel into the classroom. And I was like, whoa, that's heavy stuff, right? Because, I mean, guys like us, I don't think about that because this is all I know and this is all I've ever been. But yeah, I guess, the second you see a teacher wheel into the classroom, it's a big deal as a kid because you've certainly never seen anything like that before, right?
So there hasn't been anything negative in terms of your wheelchair?
No, I don't think so. If it's negative, I haven't heard it, and maybe that's because they don't want to share anything negative. But my students certainly know that I'm capable of doing anything that any other teacher would do, and that's part of something that I model myself on in front of them. Is it might look a little different. I might have to accomplish the task differently, but it's going to get done, right? And in my experience with the elementary panel, especially with the younger ones. They love that I'd be like, hey, you're taller than me. Come and write this on the board because I can't do it, and that gives them that ownership, that accountability that they really like. So, and certainly nothing negative from parents. It's interesting because in my role that I'm coming from in elementary, I had to teach a unit of dance, and you, right? I mean, you would think that would be, a big headache. It must be. I guarantee you there probably would have been parents especially. Well, how is Mr. Pilon going to teach the dance because he doesn't stand up? And my answer to that would be technology, right? I'm always showing videos. I'm getting students in my class to model for me. The first question I would ask when I was teaching dance is who studies dance in the room? 7 hands go up. Well, now I have my student leaders that can model anything that I can't, right? So I don't let anything get in my way, but I certainly imagine it would be a head scratcher of a moment for the parents to be like, well, how does Mr. Pilon do that?
How important is it for you as a person with a disability? How important was it to grow up and be involved with so many different sports, socializing, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, it was certainly huge for me. I was doing things socially with other people with disabilities as early as 3-4 years old, right? Now, that gave me my ability, my experience in those social circles gave me the confidence to branch out and do everything else, right? I think that there is really something for everyone, and the days of we just sitting at home watching TV. Those days are over because everybody is capable of doing anything, and there's so much importance in that social interaction with other people that might be going through the same thing that you are, or come from a similar background that you are, because you're always measuring yourself against about people that are out running and doing this, that, and the other thing. Sledge hockey was hugely important. I did 20 years. And it gave you that sense of I can do this too. And one of my favorite things about hockey would be playing exhibitions against stand-up hockey players and just allowing the sport to grow that way, but also allowing them to see that we are more than capable of absolutely anything.
Been married for a long time?
Yeah, 11 years real soon.
11 years, that's a long time.
It is.
3 kids?
3, yeah.
3 kids, and what kind of issues are there with being a parent of 3 kids and being a wheelchair user?
Yeah,
I don't even know
sure.
what to say.
I mean, there are obstacles anywhere, and where it has affected me in the past are those moments where I can't experience something with my kids. I remember the water park being a big deal because I'd watch my oldest son go up the water slide and come down the water slide and be so happy, and I would kind of tug at my heartstrings that I couldn't be a part of that because the water parks have always caused a huge accessibility issue because of the stairs. I don't know, you're only as limited as you think you are, right? And so as long as you don't let it get inside your head that you're not capable of doing this and you're not capable of doing this, I model my life all the time for my kids, and my kids will know that Daddy can do it. It's going to look different, but Daddy's going to do it, right? And I think that they are better people because of that too, because they don't judge anybody. They don't think that anybody is incapable of doing anything, because they see the way that I have to do things from time to time. So
we're just going to get into real quick. CP is not hereditary?
Definitely not.
Is it contagious?
Definitely not.
Is it?
I mean, if I sneeze on my kids all the time and they don't have it, so.
So I mean, it's not hereditary. It's not contagious.
Negative.
Is it degenerative?
No, I don't get any worse. I get wider, but that's because I gain weight.
So it's not degenerative. It's,
No.
Along those lines, it's not progressive.
Nope.
Okay.
No, it's pretty much a holding pattern. I would argue that it can only get better if you do things like muscle strengthening and things that you're trying to encourage with your channel. So I mean, I certainly won't get any worse.
Okay. Good.